That's very gracious. This is a wonderful day filled with great promise, and just so pleased to see so many here, so many of our friends. There's a waiting list for today's program, so I hope all of you consider yourselves to be commissioned today as leaders in the new arts movement here in Arkansas, and I think this is a special day for all of us. It's my privilege today to give a short introduction to the one man in Arkansas who literally needs no introduction. During his years as our governor, I was privileged to meet both him and Mrs. Clinton and to admire their passion for quality schools, quality human services, and the expansion of economic opportunities for all Arkansans. They were certainly champions of the arts and the creative economy then and remain so today. In March of 1994, then President Bill Clinton signed into law the first national standards for arts education, describing what a child with a complete sequential education in the arts should know and be able to do. Later that spring, President Clinton addressed the first federally sponsored National Arts Conference held in Chicago with over 1,100 participants. Later in his administration, President Clinton signed into law the first increase in budget for the National Endowment for the Arts in 8 years, including the Challenge America initiative, which sought to better reach rural and underserved areas of the country. His years as president were marked by a period of strong prosperity. The United States enjoyed the lowest unemployment rate. I'm doing this to remind ourselves these years were good years for all of us. Make sure he's listening. The lowest unemployment rate in many years, the lowest inflation rate in decades, the highest home ownership in history, and improvements in economic equality. After leaving office in 2001, he founded the William J. Clinton Foundation with the mission to alleviate poverty, improve global health, strengthen economies, protect the environment by fostering partnerships among governments, businesses, non-governmental organizations, and private citizens. And we've all been appreciative and admire the leadership he has given in that regard. Since opening its doors in 2004, the Clinton Presidential Center and Park has welcomed more than 2 million visitors from around the world. The center is a vibrant cultural and educational venue that has attracted millions of visitors while continuing to be a part of the fabric of the downtown Little Rock community. In addition to its permanent exhibits, the center hosts 2 or 3 wonderful temporary exhibits each year. In December of 2010, for example, the work of the center and the foundation intersected with the timely and compelling exhibit, Haiti, Building Back Better. Understanding that art and culture are as vital to a society as natural resources, the Clinton Center and the Foundation created an exhibit celebrating the people and culture of Haiti as that nation was responding to and rebuilding from the devastating earthquake there. A little over a month ago, was down here, President Clinton took part in a press conference here at the Clinton Center for the Thea Foundation, which was founded by his elementary school friend, Paul Leopoulos. Paul may be here today, here he's coming. Paul and the Thea Foundation are leading the A+ Schools Integrated Arts Project here in Arkansas, plus working with programs in Oklahoma, North Carolina, and elsewhere. President Bill Clinton is a friend to all of us who believe in the critical importance of creativity and artistic expression in providing enhanced opportunities for all of our citizens in education, in the economy, and the cultural environment. Please help me welcome today the 42nd President of the United States and our friend, President Bill Clinton.
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank all the people here at our center and library who support these endeavors. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Bruce Lindsay. Thank you, Terry Garner, and all the people at the Clinton Center, the Clinton Library, and the Clinton School. Mayor Stodel, thank you for being here. Khaki, thank you for all your work here, and thank you for what you did to make the White House more beautiful when I was there. And I thank all of our sponsors. For those of you who are here who don't know John Brown, you are witnessing an unusual event in America. John Brown was a Republican state senator from Northwest Arkansas. And before that, I went to his inauguration when I was 32 years old, or 33, in my first term as governor. And he was younger, and we both looked like teenagers then, as president of his namesake university, John Brown University in Northwest Arkansas. So he's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. We've been friends all this time, and we actually agree on something once in a while. And even when we don't, we're still friends. That makes us very strange in today's world. And I was telling John that I had tried to find a way to explain this in a speech I gave a couple of days ago in Fayetteville at the College of Agriculture, named after Senator Dale Bumpers. He and his wife are being honored with an annual lecture series, so I went up and gave a speech, and I said, look, the way I look at it, nobody's right all the time. Even the Bible says that. And a broken clock is right twice a day. And all the rest of us, poor mortals, are condemned to spend our entire lives somewhere along that spectrum, between never being right all the time and being guaranteed of being right twice a day. You move toward the better end of the spectrum if you at least listen to people who don't always agree with you. And so I want to say how much I appreciate John, and especially what the Wingate Foundation is doing, the things they fund, the things they care about in terms of arts in our schools. And I'll say more about that in a minute. And I am profoundly grateful that Michael Kaiser has come here and that he is at the Kennedy Center in Washington. What a wonderful job he did. When I became president, Michael Kaiser was the executive director of the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, which is interesting since I now have an office in Harlem. But they performed at my inauguration in 1993. And in the 20 years since, I may have acquired the moniker the comeback kid, but what he really is the turnaround king for reviving arts institutions in trouble, or those that are sort of coasting along. He is a brilliant man, incredibly gifted. And I told him, and he's always one-upping me, so I said, we really are getting into the arts in Arkansas and trying to promote it, and I just received a visit in New York from many members of the board of the Walton Center for the Performing Arts in Northwest Arkansas. They're now serving 35,000 kids up there, and bringing in a lot of people from all over the world, and they've been given a vote in the Tony Awards. So, alas, that enormous burden requires them in substantial numbers to show up in New York once a year, fan out across the city, and go to every Broadway play they possibly can. They managed to work me into the mix somehow, and I took them to lunch and gave them a tour of my my office in Harlem. So when I told Michael that, he said, we've been nominated for a Tony. And I think we're going to win. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I'm grateful that we can participate in this. I want to say a special word of appreciation to the Arkansas Symphony for holding their chamber music series here. They had a concert last night here. And I'm very proud of all the things that are done. But I want to say one serious thing as you hear this marvelous presentation and you think about how it should be disseminated. Art should be part of the fabric of community life everywhere. In poor places where people can't get on airplanes or drive somewhere else or ever go to a movie, they are naturally part of the fabric of community life. One of the things I am proudest of about my often frustrating work in Haiti is that the arts section of the economy may be the first sector that is already in better shape than it was before the earthquake. But I'll tell you a story. The second time I went to Haiti after the earthquake, I'd been working there for about a year before. But for those of you who've ever been there, you land at the airport in Port-au-Prince, and the old capital area, which was totally decimated by the earthquake, is a good ways away. You go down this long little stretch of highway, and you come to a place that used to be the center for the people who do the folk painting and the simple metal work. And when everything was in high tide, there are on both sides of the street for about a block these kind of wrought iron fences where the artists would hang their pictures. And then around the corner for about a quarter block on a side street. And then on one side, there was a little park where there were tents up where you could go in and see all kinds of work for 100 other artists. So just the second time we went down, which was just a couple of weeks after the earthquake, there were, I counted them, there were 8 brave artists who had already hung their paintings again. And you have to understand, the whole country was around Puerto Rico, it was still rubble. You could hardly walk in the streets, and these 8 people showed up. So I said to our crowd, first our driver in the car, I said, stop the cars, everybody up, everybody's got to buy at least one picture. And this time, don't haggle with anybody about the price. Normally, they don't respect you if you don't haggle about the price. I mean, it's part of the deal, part of the culture. So we got out, and I brought 2 or 3 little pictures, and everybody's piling back in, and this guy just around the corner said, President Clinton, you have to come buy something for me because you did in 2002. And it was my first trip back to Haiti after I left the White House because the then President, Aristide, asked me to come and help set up their anti-AIDS program and sell the medicine. So I went around, sure enough, this guy has a little picture of our encounter in 2002. So I bought a picture from him, and I said, I really admire you guys for being out here so soon. He said, well, I deserve no admiration. I have nothing else to do. My wife and children were all killed in the earthquake. And he smiled and he said, we're like a little family, all of us artists. And the only way I can honor my lost family is to support this family. We all know everybody's story. They know that if I can be here just a few days after losing my whole family, they have no excuse to hide their gifts and stay home. The art shaped the spirit and the character of the people who have been disappointed, let down by their own leaders and their neighbors, decade after decade after decade. And if they really make it back and then go beyond where they've ever been before, which is a reasonable possibility, it will be in no small measure because of the arts and the music. Every time I go down there and I hear a Haitian sing or play a musical instrument, I marvel at the sheer raw talent that they have, and I grieve that they don't have more formal training because it would amplify their impact so much more. Same thing is true in America. My biggest project in America has nothing to do with the arts. It's trying to reverse the tide of childhood obesity in America. But as I get into the whole reason why, one of the reasons is that our schools have been under such financial duress in the last several years, really building up for 20 years, as we have finally a class of students bigger than the baby boomers, with a much smaller percentage of property owners being parents of children in those schools, with enormous financial pressures, particularly in the financial crisis, but even before on the schools, people just getting into their physical education programs and their arts programs and their music programs. And one of the reasons that I love the Thea Foundation so much and try to support it every year is that they were determined to get back into the schools with art programs, even going so far as to provide supplies to arts teachers who were otherwise paying for them out of their own pockets. And there's lots of evidence that exposure to the arts, especially to the performing arts for a lot of kids, and to the visual arts for others, increases their learning and reduces the dropout rate and changes the whole way they approach life. We do not all learn the same way. We now have actual pictures of the human brain that show that different brains respond to different stimuli and become interested in absorbing information by different approaches. And there are an enormous number of people, little children, who will learn more about math and science and history and English if the arts are incorporated into the way they learn. It also changes the way you approach life. I've said many times that I believe if I had not been in the school music program, I would never have been elected president. And I believe that. Because it taught me discipline and order. It made me listen better. And once I got into jazz, I realized that you had to make some things up along the way. But while you were making them up, you had to stay in the right key, still playing tune. And creativity had its own discipline. One of the funniest arguments I ever had as president when I was arguing with the then Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, who is a concert-level classical pianist, far better musician than I am. Has a PhD in physics from Stanford, and his major hobby was taking apart and putting back together extremely complex clocks. He is a very smart guy. But he was being, I thought, too rigid on a certain point. And I looked at him and I said, Ehud, I'd be so grateful if instead of a world-class concert pianist, you were just a mediocre jazz musician. And he laughed. He knew exactly what I meant. I said, we're laughing, but this is a big deal. So, I won't keep you from your program any longer. But I think it's important for us to remember that the DeVos Institute, the Kennedy Center, John Brown, the Wingate, and all these other people who sponsored this conference, they could be doing something else with their money. Our job is to figure out how we can use this conference to further democratize the arts, to spread the reach and the benefits. Because we live in a very rapidly changing, highly interdependent, increasingly complex world. We need the discipline and order of a rigorous adherence to the facts of life and the creativity that we can only learn from being young to old from the arts. Thank you very much.